Today we will do MTQ or OTQ from throughput accounting and decision making. In last class, we did questions from activity-based costing, target costing, and life cycle costing. I hope you listen those videos and now you know that how to solve these MCQs. Now we are going to start with this sweet treats bakery. Most of the time students face problem while attempting this question. So we are going to attempt now and I hope in future it will help to resolve the uh, problem of the students. Sweet Treats Bakery makes three types of cakes, brownies, muffin and cupcakes. The cost, revenues and demand for each of the three cakes are as follows. Batch size 40 units, which means in one batch we are producing 40 units. Muffins 30 and cupcakes 20. Selling price per unit is 1.5, 1.4 and 2. Material cost, labor cost and overheads are given. Minimum daily demand is 30 and maximum daily demand is 140. Then we have muffins, maximum daily demand of 90. And then we have cupcakes, which means maximum daily demand of 100. So the minimum daily demand is required for a long-term contract. Minimum daily demand is required for a long-term contract with a local office, cafe, and must be met. It means that if you are in contract with any organization, you are required to fulfill this contract first and then you can focus on rest of the demand. Remember one thing, even if you are following throughput accounting, you are following short-term decision making, in either case where we are following ranking, we have long-term contracts, then we will avoid the ranking and first of all we will meet the minimum demand. So in total, we can say that it is 170, it's 110, and it is also 110. Then he says the cakes are made in batches, okay, using the three sequential process. First of all, weighing will be done, then mixing, and then baking. The products must be produced in their batch size but are sold as individual units. Each batch of cake required the following amount of time for each process. Now brownies require 15 minutes each batch. It is the required time for each batch. 15 minutes and 20 minutes, mixing 20 minutes, 16 and 12, 120, 115 and 120. The baking stage of the process is done in 3 ovens, which can be used for 8 hours a day. A total of 1440 minutes are available. So if I want to, so we know that 1440 in total and 8 hours. Oven have a capacity of one batch per bake, regardless of product type. Sweet Treats Bakery uses the throughput accounting and consider all costs other than material to be factory costs which do not vary with the level of production. As we all know that as per throughput accounting, only material is the variable cost, rest of the costs are the fixed cost. On Monday, in addition to the baking oven, Sweet Treats Bakery has the following processes available. Processes 240 minutes of the weighing and mixing 180 minutes. Which of the three processes, if any, is a bottleneck activity? Bottleneck means constraint. Constraint means limiting factor. So bottleneck, constraint or limiting factor means there is one of the process which does not allow us to achieve maximum demand. So first of all, we will determine minutes available for weighing. We have 240 minutes. For mixing, we have 180 minutes. and in total for baking, he says that you have 40 minutes. So these are the minutes which we have right now. Now, how many batches we are required to produce? This is what we need to determine first. Like here we see says that batch size is 40 and maximum, if maximum daily demand is 140, or if we add this 30, so maximum daily demand is what? Maximum daily demand is like 170. So if I say maximum daily demand is 40 divided by 40, how many batches we are required to produce? Can you calculate? I think it will be 3.5 batches. Then we have 90. If I use only this value divided by 30, these 30. So we have 3 batches. Then we have what? Then we have 100 divided by 20. And we have how many batches? We have 5 batches to produce if we use only maximum demand. Now, how much time is needed? Brownie says what? Brownie says you need 15 minutes per batch. Remember one thing, batches are always produced in full. Batches are not produced in decimals. Product must be produced in their batch size but also sold as individual units. So what does it mean? Here we say that baking has 3.5 batches if we divide 140 maximum demand by 40, but in fact batches are produced in full. So it means we are requiring or we are asking that there will be 4 batches, or we are saying that there will be 4 batches. So if we have 4 batches for our first uh, brownies, then we have or we require what? 60 minutes. Similarly, 4 batches, 4 into 20, 80 minutes. Then you have 4 batches, 4 into 120, 480 minutes. It is brownies. Next we have what? Muffins. So for muffins, what we need? 15 into 3 batches. We are producing 3 batches. So we have 45. Then 16 into 3, we have 48. Then 110 into 3, we have 330. Then we have cupcakes. Here we calculated, I think, 5 batches. So 20 into 5, it is 100. 12 into 5, it is 60. 120 into 5, it is 600. Now we can add our total minutes for weighing, total minutes for mixing, and total minutes for baking. So you can add 60 plus 45, it's 105 plus 100. So required time for weighing is 205 minutes. Then you have 80 minutes for mixing, 48 minutes for weighing. 80 plus 48, it is 128. 128 plus 60, it's 188 minutes. Then we have third one, 480 plus 330 plus 600. So add these minutes and do let me know what is the answer. 480 plus 330, it is 810 plus 600, it is 1410. So we have or determined that how many minutes are required. Required minutes are 205 for weighing, 188 for mixing, and 1410 for baking. Required time for weighing is 240 and we are asking for 205. It means here we can say that there is no constraint. We are not facing any constraint. For mixing we require 188, but we have 180. So it is in constraint. We are facing limiting factor of mixing. Third one is 1410 and available is 1440. So once again we can say that there is no constraint for this process baking. So answer for the first is mixing. We are facing shortage of mixing, right? Any question? Okay. Now we will move further. On Wednesday, mixing process is identified as the bottleneck. On this day, only 120 minutes in the mixing process are available. So if you are facing limiting factor, assuming that sweet treat bakery wants to maximize profit, in this case, your objective is to maximize profit. What is the optimal production for the Wednesday? Now we are following throughput accounting. Throughput accounting says what? Throughput accounting says there are a few steps which we need to follow. Those steps are, step number one is throughput per unit. What is throughput per unit? Throughput per unit is sales minus material cost. So 1.5 minus 0.25 means throughput contribution per unit is 1.225. Here we have 1.4 minus 0.15. So we have throughput contribution of again 1.25, and then we have 2 minus 0.25, we have a throughput contribution of 1.75. So this is what, this is our throughput contribution per unit. Now what to do? Second step is to calculate throughput per hour. What is this throughput per hour? We are facing shortage of what? We are facing shortage of mixing. And mixing requires what? Mixing requires 20 minutes per batch, 16 minutes per batch for muffins, and 12 minutes per batch for cupcakes. So in the second step, what we will do? We will calculate throughput per hour. Here I would like to write step number one, throughput per unit, which is also called throughput contribution per unit. For the first product, it is 1.25. For second product, it is 1.25. And for the third product, it was 1.75. Now, throughput per hour, throughput per hour. Now, question did not provide us time to required 1 unit. Question says that time to require per batch. We are using 20 minutes of mixing for each batch, and in each batch we have what? We have 40 units. So 20 divided by 40 for brownies, we have zero point 0.5 minutes for, or we need zero point 0.5 minutes for each unit. For muffins we require 16 minutes, and batch size is what? I think batch size is 30 units per batch. Yes, it is 30 units. So divide 16 by 30 and let me know what is the answer. Can you calculate 16 by 30? It is 0.533. Okay. So it is 0.53333. Third one is what? Third one is 12. and there we need 20 units per batch. 20 minutes per batch, and here we need what? 20. So 12 divided by 20 means what? 0.6. 0.6 is needed to produce 1 unit. There were two options. I can convert into total throughput per batch like 1.25 into 40, but rather converting into one batch, I converted hours into per unit. So now we have 1.25 divided by zero point 0.5, 1.25 divided by 0.53333, and 1.75 divided by zero point 0.2, sorry, zero point 0.6 it is. Now we are required to calculate throughput per hour. So divide these values and do let me know the answers. 1.25 divided by 0.5. It is, I think, 2.5. Second one is 1.25 divided by 0.5333. What will be the answer? 2.3438. Next one, 1.75 divided by 0.6. 2.91667. Now, throughput per hour represents us, in fact, throughput accounting ratio. We can perform ranking over here without calculating throughput accounting ratio. Ranking says what? It is at the first, this one is at second, and this one is at third. So first of all, we will produce what? First of all, we will produce this product, and this product is what? This product is cupcakes. Then we will produce our second product, it is brownies. And then we will produce our third product, it is muffins. Now he says that in which quantity you will produce. Available time is total 120 minutes of the mixing, and you are required to produce what? You are required to produce 5 batches of the cupcakes, and each batch requires what? Each batch requires 12 minutes. So first of all, we will say what is the optimal production plan? Optimal means profit maximizing. Now 5 batches require what? 5 batches require, or 5 batches includes what? 5 batches include our minimum demand as well. So if I exclude this minimum demand, at least I need to produce what? 90. If I exclude this, I need 70. If I exclude this, I need 110. So he is saying that you are required what? First of all, you will produce your cupcakes. And how many cupcakes you can produce? You need to produce 20 cupcakes in one batch. And each batch requires what? Each batch requires 12 minutes. So alternatively, we said that each batch requires what? Each batch requires 0.6 hours. Means, sorry, each unit requires what? Each unit requires 0.6 hours. So you can calculate that how much time is needed, or maximum production will be what? For the cupcakes in this case, then for the brownies, and third one is the muffins. Suppose I say that maximum demand of the cupcakes is 100 into what? and it is divided by 20 into 12 minutes. So how much time is consumed here? 60 minutes. And total available minutes are 120 minutes. 100 is the maximum demand of the cupcakes. Each batch required 20 units. So 100 divided by 20, we need 5 batches. Each batch needs 12 minutes. So 60 minutes are consumed to produce cupcakes. Out of what? Out of this 120 minutes. Apart from this cupcakes, then we have brownies. So brownies are 140 in total. We says that 40 in per batch, which means what? 3.5. As I told you that batches are always in full. So 4 into what? Into, we can look at the minutes, that how much minutes we need. For brownies, we need 20 minutes. So if I multiply by 20, it is 80. 60 plus 80 is 140, but I have available time of 120 minutes. So what does it mean? I cannot produce 4 batches of the brownies. Now what will I do? I will use the balancing figure. What will I perform? I will say that 120 minutes are the available in total. Out of 120 minutes, 60 are used by cupcakes. Now, what is the balancing figure? Balancing figure is 60. So, when I tried with the total 4 batches, I found 80 minutes. But 80 minutes are not useful for me because I have 60 minutes as a balancing figure. For which product? For brownies. So, and each batch requires what? Each batch requires 20 minutes. So, first of all, I would say 60 divided by 20. I can produce 3 batches of what? Of brownies. And each batch contains 40 brownies. So in total, how can produce how many? I can produce 120 brownies. So I will produce 120 brownies, and previously I determined that one brownie need zero point 0.5 hours per unit. So if you multiply 120 by zero point 0.5, you will get 60 minutes. So now we can use what? We can utilize full 120 minutes. But what is the maximum demand? Maximum demand is to produce 4 batches, which I cannot produce because of limiting factor. I can produce maximum demand of cupcakes only. For brownies, I will produce 120 brownies maximum. And now I don't have time for what? Now I don't have time for the muffins. So I am not able to produce what? I am not able to produce muffins. But we made a contract. Contract of what? Contract of producing a certain number of muffins in either circumstances. What are those circumstances? Those circumstances are the contract. If there is no contract, then option C is the right answer. If there is no contract in a question, suppose you are provided with the similar question in the exam, then there is no contract. Then you will choose option C as the correct answer. But in this question, he says that we have a contract. We have a contract to produce at least 30 for brownies and 20 for muffins. So if we have contract, and muffins require what? Muffins required 16 minutes. So what will you do? You will at least fulfill the commitment of your contracted quantity, and you will produce and sell your contracted quantity. Although for the cupcakes you are fulfilling your contracted quantity and as well as your external demand, and you are following the practice of a profit maximization, where you are allocated all the resources to the product which has highest contribution per limiting factor in the ranking. That's why you decided that we will fully utilize 60 minutes and we are producing 100. But for the brownies, now you cannot produce this much brownies. Why? Because you are required to fulfill the contract as well. And contract says what? Contract says that you have to produce muffins. And how many muffins? You have to produce at least one batch of muffin. And one batch of muffin requires what? One batch of muffin requires 20 units, which is the minimum demand. Here you can read long-term contract, minimum daily demand. This is what you are required to do. And batch size is 30. Now I told you that we cannot produce batches in decimals. So if batch size is 30, although your minimum demand is 20, but still you will produce at least one batch of muffin to fulfill your minimum demand. So for muffin, you will say that we will produce at least one batch. One batch consumes how many units? One batch consumes 30 units. So we are producing 30 units and each unit requires how many time? Here we calculated time for each unit 0.5333. So calculate the time and do let me know what is the answer. I think it must be 16 because it has 0.53333. So it must be 16. But please recheck. Total is 120 and the remaining is what? Remaining is 44 minutes for what? For brownies. Now once again you will calculate balancing figure for the brownies. Just like here we calculated how much we can produce in 44 minutes. We have you can solve here because now this working is not useful for us. We are not following. This working is useful if there is no minimum demand. But where we have minimum demand, then we cannot follow this working and we will produce muffins as well. Although minimum daily demand of the muffin is just 20 units, but we cannot produce a 20 units because one batch require at least 30, so we have to produce 30. So brownies, for brownies we have what? We have 44 minutes and time to produce one unit is 0.5. So 44 divided by 0.5, maximum we can produce 88 brownies. Again, brownies are produced in batches, so we divided by 40. So how many batches we have? 88 divided by 40. Quickly. 2.2 batches. Once again, batches are not produced in decimals. So we can produce what? We can produce only two batches within available time into 40 units per batch. We can sell only for 80 brownies. So only 80 brownies we can sell, 30 muffins we can sell, and 100 cupcakes we can sell to maximize our profit. If you have any question, do let me know before moving further because this MCQ was tricky. I am going to give you an overview, but still you have question you can ask me. In this question, we are expected to produce what? We are expected to produce profit maximizing plan. Now, what is the profit maximizing plan? Profit maximizing plan is the one where throughput per hour or throughput accounting ratio will be highest for the product. This product is produced earlier. Then we will go for the second one and then we will go for the third one. Suppose in the given scenario, he says that your throughput per unit is 1.25, which is the difference between selling price and the material cost for brownies, same for muffins, and third for cupcakes. Second one is throughput per hour. Throughput per hour is means what? Throughput per hour means throughput per unit divided by hours per unit. And hours per unit are zero point 0.5 for brownies, 0.533 for muffins, and cupcakes. For cupcakes, we have zero point 0.6. We have already calculated these minutes per cupcake or per unit. You can see in the video. Now we calculated what we converted them into throughput per hour, and that is 2.5 for brownies, 2.3438 for muffins, and 2.9166 for the cupcakes. Then we performed ranking, and first of all we will produce cupcakes, then we will produce muffins, and then we will produce brownies. Now he says that you have a contract of minimum daily demand, which is for different units for different products. Ranking of cupcake is highest. It has to maximum of 100, which includes minimum of 10. So 100 divided by 20 into 12, we have what? We have 60 minutes for the cupcakes, or we will consume 60 minutes for the cupcakes out of 120 minutes. On second number, we will definitely produce muffins. Why? Because we have a contract to produce 20 muffins on regular basis. Now, one batch of the muffin requires 30 units. Then it is not possible for me to produce 20 units in one batch because minimum size of the batch is 30 units. So I have to produce full 30 units. Each batch is one batch multiplied by 30, it is 30, and then 30 units are multiplied by hours per unit, which are 0.5333, or minutes per unit. So we have 16 minutes for muffins. Out of 120, 76 minutes are consumed for cupcakes and the muffins. So the remaining minutes are 44 minutes for whom? For brownies. Now we says that we have how many brownies we can produce? We can produce maximum 88 brownies. Why? Because we have 44 minutes and each brownie require 0.45 hours. So maximum 88 can be produced. We are producing in batches. That's why 88 divided by 40, it is 2.2 batches. Now it is not possible for us to produce 2.2 batches because once again I will say that batches are produced in full. So we can produce either 2 or 3 batches, but we cannot produce 3 batches because we are facing limiting factor. We can produce only 2 batches. Each batch requires 40 units, so we can produce 80 units of the brownies, 30 for the muffins, and 100 for the cupcakes, right? Any question still? Okay. Now we are moving to the next question. Sweet Treats Bakery has done a detailed review of its product, cost and processes and has identified potential actions to improve its throughput accounting ratio. Which of the following statement will improve the throughput accounting ratio? Place a tick in the boxes in the table below as appropriate. The cafe customer will be given a loyalty discount. Will improve throughput accounting, will not improve. First of all, understand this concept with the steps of throughput accounting ratio. What are the steps? Step number one is throughput per unit, which is equal to selling price minus material cost. This is the step number one. Step number two, throughput per hour, which is equal to throughput per unit divided by throughput per hour. Third step is operating cost per hour where we add all the labor costs, variable overheads and fixed overheads and divide it by the total hours. Then we have throughput accounting ratio, and then we have ranking. And on the basis of ranking, we will decide profit maximizing plan. Now we want to improve throughput accounting ratio. If I increase my selling price, it will increase my throughput per unit. If it will increase my throughput per unit here, it means it is increasing this numerator here, throughput per unit. So if numerator will rise, throughput per hour will also rise. If throughput per hour will rise, it will ultimately improve throughput accounting ratio. So here he says that cafe customer will given a loyalty discount. Loyalty discount means you are reducing the selling price. When you are reducing the selling price, it will not improve your throughput per unit. May be possible due to loyalty discount, there will be increase in total sales revenue, but there will no increase in throughput per unit. That's why it is not applicable, will not improve throughput accounting ratio. A bulk discount on flour and sugar is available from supplier. Now the other option is your material cost. Reduce your material cost. It is your expense. If you will reduce expense, it will improve throughput per unit. When throughput per unit is rising, it means numerator is improving here. If there will be increase in this numerator, your throughput per hour will rise. So ultimately it will increase what? It will increase throughput accounting ratio. So if you successfully reduce your bulk discount, or if you successfully reduce your cost, your throughput accounting ratio will improve. There is additional demand for the cupcakes in the market. So what? Additional demand does not mean your throughput accounting ratio will rise. So it will not improve your throughput accounting ratio. The rent of the premises has reduced for the next year. Rent is part of the operating cost, and throughput accounting ratio formula is what? Throughput per hour divided by operating cost per hour. Operating cost is the denominator. If rent is reducing, it means total operating cost is falling. If total operating cost is falling, what does it mean? It is it is reducing, or there will be reduction in operating cost per hour. Where there will be reduction in operating cost per hour, it will ultimately improve what? It will ultimately improve throughput accounting ratio. So this is called what? This is called the steps which can be used to improve the throughput accounting ratio, or which cannot improve throughput accounting ratio. Next one is on Friday, due to a local food festival at the Weekend Sweet Treats Bakery is considering increasing its production of cupcakes. These cupcakes can be sold at the festival at existing selling price. The company has unlimited capacity of weighing and mixing on Friday, but its existing three ovens are already fully utilized. Therefore, in order to supply cupcakes to the festival, Sweet Treats Bakery will need to hire identical oven at a cost of $45 per day. It is additional cost. It is relevant cost because you will hire this oven for this specific Friday. If you will not make this decision, you will not pay this cost. How much will profit increase if the company hires new ovens and produces as many cupcakes as possible? Okay. Now, what is the maximum additional capacity? He says that maximum additional capacity is what? Maximum additional capacity for weighing and mixing is too much. But what is the maximum capacity of an oven? I think here he says that we can use an oven maximum for 8 hours. You can see that ovens which can each be used for 8 hours a day. So maximum you can do what? You can use an oven for 8 hours. Okay. Oven have a capacity to of one batch per bake. So at one point of time, you can use what? You can produce what? You can produce one batch, right? And 40 minutes in total. And if we talk about cupcakes, cupcakes require what? Cupcakes has a maximum demand of 100. One thing I would like to correct here, this maximum demand of 140 includes the minimum daily demand of 30, 90 includes 20, and 100 includes 10. So don't add these values. I did not add when I was calculating my batches. Cupcakes 20 units per batch, and we have maximum 5 batches. So how many batches we can produce within these 8 hours? Because one batch is possible at one point of time, and each cupcake batch requires what? I think each cupcake batch requires 2 hours. So out of 8 hours, if we divide by 2, maximum 4 batches can be produced. And what is the contribution per batch, or what additional income we can earn from each batch is it given? Additional contribution we have like per unit to 1.75 from each unit, and if you multiply with the 20 units per batch, can you, what will be the answer? 1.75 into 20. We can produce maximum 4 batches. Per batch contribution or throughput contribution is 1.75, and in each batch we are producing 20 units, so maximum is $35 into 4 batches. What is the total throughput contribution? Total throughput 4 into 35, 4 into 35, I think it's 140. And then calculate additional profit. Additional profit. 140 minus what? 140 minus 45. Additional profit is 95. If additional profit is available, so what does it mean? It is financially viable for us and we should do this. Although he did not ask us to determine either it is financially viable for you or not, but if we are solving a 20 marks question and he asked us, is it financially viable for you or not? Yes, it is, because it is giving us additional profit. Next is, in a previous week, the weighing process was the bottleneck, and the resulting throughput accounting ratio for the bakery was 1.45. Which of the following statement about throughput accounting ratio for the previous week is or are true? The bakery operating cost exceeds the total throughput contribution generated from its three products. He is saying that the weighing process was the bottleneck process and the resulting throughput accounting ratio for the bakery was 1.45. Which of the following throughput accounting ratio for the previous week is or are true? Bakery operating cost exceeds the total throughput contribution generated from three products. He is saying that your total cost is increasing in comparison with the contribution. Okay. Then he says that less idle time. Less idle time in making department would have improved throughput accounting ratio. Okay. The third one is improved efficiency during the weighing process would have improved throughput accounting ratio. Now remember one thing, if your cost is rising in comparison with your throughput contribution, then your throughput accounting ratio will not rise, it will fall. So this statement is incorrect. Less idle time in the mixing department would have improved throughput accounting ratio. No idle hours are provided in the question, and the reduction in idle time never improves the throughput accounting ratio, right? Throughput accounting ratio needs what? Contribution per unit, then throughput per hour, then operating cost per hour, then throughput accounting ratio, which is equal to throughput per hour divided by operating cost per hour. So there is no use of idle time. And whenever you will improve your efficiency, it will ultimately improve your processes. And when there will be improvement in processes, your throughput accounting ratio will improve. Any question?